Hello Year 5, welcome back to Maths and for our last week of online learning. So I hope you have your pencil and some paper and you're somewhere quite quiet and you've got your maths caps on, ready to start your do now. When you have finished, please unpause and we'll go through the answers. So how did you do? Let's take a look. Here are the answers. Don't forget to tick them. Unpause and then we'll continue. So how did you do? Great. Today we are going to review percentages. So let's start with this one. We have here 10% of 4, 10% of 48 and 10% of 240. Let's go through our steps to success. First of all, we're going to place our decimal after the ones and then put a 0 in the tenths. Step 2 is to drop the decimal. Then we're going to, in step 3, move each digit one place value to the right, which makes it 10 times smaller. And then place a placeholder in the ones column, but only if that's needed. If there's a digit there, then we don't need to do that. So let's get started. First of all, we're going to place a decimal after the ones. There we go. And then a 0 in the tenths. Then we're going to drop our decimal. And then we're going to move each digit one place value to the right. So over here, and 1. And then we're going to place a holder in the ones column. So there's nothing here, and that's what we're going to do, put a 0 there. Is there another way that we can write this? 0.40? Yeah, 0.4, great. If there's a 0 at the end, we don't need to write it. So let's try again here. Read the first step for me. Good. Okay, now the second step. Thank you. Now the third step. Good. So where's my 4 going to go? Under the 8. Good. And then 1 across. And then my 0. And then number 4. And do we need a 0? Why? Good, because there's 1 there already. Can we write this a different way? Yeah, 4.8 would suffice as well. Fantastic. Okay, let's go on to the last example. Let's do it together. Number 1, I'm going to place a decimal after my ones, and I'm going to put a 0. Number 2, I'm going to drop my decimal. Number 3, I'm going to move each digit one place value to the right. So 2, 4, 0. Do I need a placeholder? No. Is there another way of writing this? Yes, 24. Fantastic. Okay, let's continue. 10% of 150 equals. First of all, I'm going to put a decimal place after my ones, and then the 0. Then tell me, good, how many place values do I need to move each digit, and in which direction? Fantastic. Is there another way that I can write it? Yes. Super. I think we can go on to your to the next one, which is 40% of 90. Now, these have a different set of steps to success. Let's read them. First of all, we're going to divide the percentage by 10. In our second step, we're going to then divide the number by 10. And then simply in the third step, we're going to multiply the answers that we have from steps 1 or steps 2. If our number is a decimal, then instead of multiplying them, we can add them the appropriate number of times. So let's take a look. Number 1, divide the percentage by 10. 40 divided by 10 equals 4. Good. 10, 20, 30, 40. Excellent. Next, divide the number by 10. So we have 90 divided by 10. I'm going to count using my 10 times tables to 90, and the answer to that is 9. And now I'm going to multiply my answers from step 1 and step 2. and 18, 27, 36. So my answer is 36. 40% of 90 is 36. And let's try another example. Can you read the first step to success for me? Good. What's my percentage? Excellent. So divided by 10 equals 3. Can you read the second step for me? Good. What's my number? Yeah, 450 divided by 10 equals. Now, it's a little bit tricky for me to use my 10 times tables all the way to 450. So I'm going to show you another trick. Do you remember it? Yeah, if both numbers end with a 0, then I can just cancel them out. And then it becomes 45 divided by 1, which is nice and easy. 45. Ooh, I get to tick off my steps to success. And then the third one, I'm going to multiply the answers from step 1 and step 2 together. So what's wrong? What do you mean? But it said to multiply, so that's what I've done. I've multiplied it. Oh, I see. You're right. when I multiply, I always have to put the largest number at the top, because that, now that you mention it, that would be quite tricky to solve, wouldn't it? So 45 multiplied by 3 is 3 times 5 equals 15, and I'm going to regroup the 1. 3 times 4 equals 4, 8, 12, plus 1 equals 13. Good. So the answer is 135. Okay, and the next one here, if it is over 50%, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to first of all partition the percentage into 50 and the remaining amount. So I have 50, and then what more do I need to complete 60? 10. So I know that 50 plus 10 equals 60. So I've done step 1. Next, step 2. Find 50% by dividing the number by 2. So here is my number, okay? 160 divided by 2 equals. Now I'm going to use my bus stop method, or you can use an easier way. I'll show you in a moment. 1 divided by 2 equals 0, and then I'm going to regroup. 16 divided by 2 equals 8. 0 divided by 2 equals 0. The other way that I could have done this is I could have covered up the 0. 16 divided by 2 equals 8. 0 divided by 2 equals 0. Okay, same answer. All right, so now I know that this is 50%. I'm going to write this here to remind me. Okay, next. Now I'm going to find 10% by dividing my number. So that's my number, and I'm dividing it by 10. Okay, do you remember that really easy trick that we used before? I'm going to cancel out the zeros because they both have zeros at the end. 16 divided by 1 equals 16. Now it says here that if I have 10%, I need to just multiply this by 1. If I have 20%, then I would multiply this by 2. I only have 10% here. If this was 30%, then I would need to multiply it by 3. Or if I have 40%, then I would multiply it by 4. But I don't need to. I'm just going to remind myself that that's 10% here. Okay. Now I'm going to complete step 4, which is add the 10s and the 50s together. So this is 50%, that's 80, plus my 10%, so that's 16. So that's 0 plus 6 equals 6, 8 plus 1 equals 9. So 60% of 160 equals 96. Fantastic. Now it's your turn. I'd like you to complete these 8 questions. So we'll start with these 4. Unpause to continue. Here are the next 4, and unpause to continue for the answers. Okay, let's take a look at the answers here. Don't forget to tick them. If you have finished, then I would like you to unpause and we'll continue. Okay. Now we're going to find out 5% of an amount. Our steps to success are to find 10% of a quantity first, and then we're going to divide the answer in step 1 by 2. This is because 5 is half of 10. Now, I haven't given you steps to success for finding 10% of the quantity because you should now have strategies for calculating 10% of a quantity. You can do it by doing the sneaky way of cancelling out the zeros if both numbers have zeros at the end. Or you can use the decimal where you put a decimal after your 1 and then drop your decimal and move each digit to the right. So it depends, it's up to you and the numbers, obviously. So let's see. First of all, we have find 10% of the quantity. The quantity is here. So that's 50 divided by 10 equals, now here is quite straightforward. I can use my 10 times tables and count to 50. So I know that the answer is 5. And now I'm going to divide my answer in step 1 by 2. Yeah. Now this looks a little bit tricky, but even if I were to put my bus stop here and say 5 and then 2, 5 divided by 2 equals 2 remainder 1. Now I have 1 out of 2. So there's a fraction that's half. How do I write that as a decimal? 0.5. Good, 0.5. So I know that I have from my answer 2 as a whole, and now I have half. So I'm going to write 5 in the tenths column. So my answer is 2.5. 5% of 50 is 2.5. Excellent. So first of all, let's find the first step. Can you read it out for me, please? Excellent. So let's see. I've got 180 and I'm dividing it by 10. So I'm going to cancel out my zeros because I think that's the easiest strategy here. And I know that 10% of 180 is 18. Great. Now I'm going to divide the answer in step 1. So here's my answer, 18. I'm going to divide it by 2. Great. So 18 divided by 2 equals 9. Fantastic. Now let's take a look at this. 35 of 600. Let's read the steps to success. First of all, partition the percentage into tens and fives. So we have how many tens? 3. Good. So that is the equivalent of 30. And here is our 5. Okay. And I know that that's correct because 30 plus 5 equals 35. Right. So our step 2 is to find 10%. So I'm going to divide my number. This is my number. I'm going to divide it by 10. Great. And I'm going to use that sneaky way of cancelling out those zeros. So that makes it nice and easy. 60 divided by 1 equals 60. Okay. Now I'm going to write down that this is 10%. It says here in brackets though, I need to multiply if needed. So I'm going to go back to my tens. Am I looking for just 10%? No, I'm looking for 30%. this is just 10. So if I were to divide 30 by 10, my answer would be 3. So I actually have to multiply this 10% by 3. So I'm going to multiply 60 times 3. So 6 times 3 equals 6, 12, 18. 3 times 0 equals 0. So now I know this is 30%. That's really important. Great. I'm now, step 3, I have to find 5%. So I need to take 10% in step 2. So I'm going to look at the percentages that I have. This one is 10%. So I'm going to write that down, 60. And then I'm going to divide it by 2. So 60 divided by 2 equals 30. And then the final step is to add together the partitioned percentages. So I'm looking for 35%. I'm just going to write here 5% so that it makes it a little bit easier for me. Right, so I'm looking for, well, I know that this is 30%, so that's 180, plus my 5% here, and I'm going to add them together. 0 plus 0 equals 0. 8 plus 3 equals 11. I'm going to regroup. 1 plus 1 equals 2. So 35% of 600 is 210. So let's continue with this. 95% of 80. So again, I'm going to partition the percentage into tens and fives. I have 90 and I have 5. Great. Now I've got to find 10%. So I'm going to divide my number, which is 80, by 10. Great. 80 divided by 10 equals 8. That's nice and easy. Next, I have to multiply it if needed. Now, I don't need 10%, I need 90%. So I need 9 more 10%. So I'm going to multiply 8 by 9. And so that equals 81. I'm going to tick that now. I'm going to write down here, this one was 10%, and this is now the equivalent of 90%. Great. Okay, the next step. To find 5%, I need to take the 10% in step 2. So which one was 10%? Can you tell me? Good. 8. And I need to divide that now by 2. Okay, so now that equals 4. I'm going to write down that that is 5%. So that's nice and clear for me. Next, I'm going to add together the partition percentages. So I'm finding 95%. Here is the 90, so that's 81. And my 5% here is 4. 4 plus 1 equals 5. I've got the 8. So 95% of 80 equals, well, that's not right, is it? It can't be more than 80. So I know that I've gone wrong somewhere. Let me see. Partition the percentage into tens, which we've done. Divide my number by 10. I know that 80 divided by 10 equals 8. And then I'm going to multiply it by 9. So 8 multiplied by 9 equals 81. But that doesn't sound right because that's more than... what's 8 times 9? 72. Good catch. Okay, so now that I know where I've gone wrong, I'm going to go back to my step 4. I'm going to add my partition percentages. I know that this is no longer 81 because I did 9 times 9. So 72 plus 4 equals 2 plus 4 equals 6, and then I'm going to carry that down. So I know that 95% of 80 equals 76. Good. Right, it's a good thing that I double checked my answer. Sometimes we can get confused by our times tables, but when we double check, for example, knowing that 85 is greater than 80, that couldn't possibly be the correct answer. Good catch. Right, let's see if you can do these. I'd like you to complete these 3 questions, and then when you've finished, unpause for the next 5. Good. And here are the next 5 questions. Unpause for the answers. And let's see how you did. These are the answers. Don't forget to tick them. And unpause for the next part. Okay, let's see. Here we are finding the missing number. 10% of equals 150. 10% of equals 7. 10% of equals 1.2. Here are our steps to success. Number 1, we need to multiply the end answer by 10. And then number 2, we need to check that it makes sense. What do I mean by check that it makes sense? We know that the answer that we've been given is only 10% of the number that's missing. So the number that's missing must be greater than the number that we have at the end. So let's start. 150 times 10 equals, now I can do my trick easy way of placing a 0 at the end of my answer, or you can use the decimal way, where you're moving each digit, you're dropping your decimal, and then you are moving each digit to the left. So my answer here is 1,500. Check that it makes sense. Yes, it's greater than the answer at the end. Fantastic. Next one. I'm going to multiply the end answer. So 7 times 10, that's nice and easy, equals 70. Great. Let me just check the answer makes sense. Yep, that's greater. 70 is greater than 70. Now let's do the last one. Now I can't do that trick where I place the 0 at the end because the answer would still be the same. So I'm going to place 1.2. I'm going to drop my decimal. And this time I'm going to multiply by 10. So which direction am I going to move each digit? Good, to the left. Yeah, that means that my number is getting larger. If I move each digit by how many place values? Good, by 1 place value, it means that my digit is getting 10 times larger. So I'm going to move this 1 place value and then 1 place value. And I know that I can place a 0 here. Or how could I write 12.0? Good, I could write it as 12 as well. I'm now going to check that it makes sense, and 12 is greater than 1.2. Okay, and then we have 80% of equals 40. So let's take a look at our steps to success. I'm going to divide the percentage by 10 first. Then the second step is divide the product, or the answer this here, by the answer in step 1. I'm then going to multiply my answer in step 2 by 10, and then I'm going to check that my answer makes sense. So let's get started. I'm going to divide my percentage by 10. So 80 divided by 10 equals, I can use my 10 times tables here and stop at 80. And I know that the answer is 8. Now I'm going to divide the product. So this is the product here. 40 divided by the answer in step 1. So the answer in step 1 is 8. Great. So 40 divided by 8 equals 5. If it is a really large number, then you can also use your bus stop method. Now I'm going to multiply the answer in step 2. So here's my answer in step 2, 5. I'm going to multiply it by 10. Okay, so 5 times 10 equals 50. That's really easy because I know my times tables. Again, if it's quite a large number, you can use your column method. And I'm going to make sure that my answer makes sense. So I need to remember that this number needs to be greater than the answer at the end, which it is. Okay, fantastic. So your turn. I would like you to complete these 4 questions, and when you've done that, continue for the next 4. Here are the next 4 questions. Unpause if you'd like to complete the extension. You go. And when you have finished, unpause for the answers. So here are the answers to the questions. Don't forget to tick or cross. And these are the answers to the extension. And please remember to mark your work before you upload it onto Seesaw, and we can't wait to see your work. I hope you enjoyed that, and I look forward to seeing you for our next class tomorrow. Have a good afternoon. Bye.